Hello, welcome to Sino Odyssey, a channel created by three young Chinese individuals with the goal of providing you with a more rational perspective on Chinese society. In our inaugural video, we aim to share some essential knowledge that will enhance your understanding before embarking on the captivating odyssey of Chinese society. What do you believe represents Chinese society today? Is it Kung Fu, Chinese cuisine, or communism? In fact, we won't be discussing any of those topics today. Instead, we want to delve into what truly shapes modern Chinese society. In the past, Westerners perceived the Chinese as the sick man of East Asia, residing in a mysterious country in the Far East. However, this impression no longer holds true. Not because the previous image was entirely false, but because Chinese society has undergone a monumental transformation. To comprehend the magnitude of this great leap, we first need to explore the Chinese history. Conclusion first. The most significant change in Chinese society, which we refer to as the Great Leap, involved breaking free from the historical destiny of the Dynastic Cycle. This liberation was achieved through the imitation and adoption of foreign technologies, political systems, and ideologies, ultimately propelling China into a society distinctly different from the borrowed one, but deeply influenced by its previous culture. So, what is the dynastic cycle? Chinese philosopher Liang Shuming characterized it as a cycle of rule and chaos without revolution. When a new dynasty is established, the mandate of heaven is granted to the emperor, and the country enters a period of rule. However, when the emperor loses this mandate of heaven, the government is overthrown, leading to an era of chaos. Let's start from the emperor. Firstly, the monarch is not only the political leader of the country, but also the father and teacher in moral aspects for all the people. As subjects, there is an obligation to obey the guidance of the monarch, similar to the relationship between minors and their guardians. This forms the ideological basis of loyalty. Confucianism suggests that the monarch should educate the people through a moral stance rather than controlling them through violence and authority. This approach legitimizes the ruler's authority as divinely granted, where divine in Confucianism sanctifies morality as heaven. If the monarch deviates from moral principles, they may lose their legitimacy. A competent monarch often leads to a stable nation, while an incompetent one can generate discontent among the populace. However, this dissatisfaction does not immediately transform into rebellion and the overthrow of the dynasty, due to the reverence for imperial power and the influence of the concept of loyalty to the ruler, shaped by the monarch's role as a moral teacher. It often requires prolonged efforts by an inept ruler or significant external shocks to cause a change in dynasties. But it's essential to note that Confucian moral values, acting as a religion, do not strictly follow the mentioned causality. The Chinese perception of cause and effect might be inverted, similar to the way they might not understand who the emperor actually is in an era without newspapers. This resembles the dynamics of a financial crisis. For instance, when the country is stable and there are no severe natural disasters, the people, mainly engaged in agriculture, may attribute their fortune to the wisdom of the emperor and the correct guidance of the court consisting of wise ministers. Similarly, in a stable and growing market, stock prices naturally maintain stable growth under market confidence. If a natural disaster occurs, the responsibility is placed on the emperor rather than the people themselves. Calls for an inept or corrupt ruler become prevalent. Certainly, this is just a simple analogy made for the sake of easier comprehension and does not constitute any academically significant conclusion. In summary, under Confucian thought, people generally believe that their happiness depends on the emperor and the bureaucratic system serving him. As a dynasty approaches its decline, factors such as peace, prosperity, intensive labor in the unique agricultural production model, high birth rates due to traditional notions of prosperous lineages, and increasing wealth disparity contribute to a population nearing the upper limit of the land's carrying capacity, akin to a massive bubble before a financial crisis. Simultaneously, as the wealth gap widens and land consolidation issues remain unchecked, the nation's resilience to shocks, whether natural disasters, internal turmoil, or external military conflicts, diminishes. The people, facing hardships, attribute the responsibility to the emperor and his close advisors, considering it a loss of the mandate of heaven. This is why some rulers facing the downfall of their nation, despite not being necessarily incompetent, find it challenging to avert disaster. The government's ability to maintain its rule weakens, much like a financial market avalanche that intensifies as confidence erodes, turning expectations into reality and leading to the eventual collapse of the entire system. This cycle of history is akin to the Greco-Roman conception of time, as a continuous cycle without a definitive beginning, middle, or end. So what will happen when this dynastic cycle in China reaches its end? In our upcoming videos, we'll explore how this significant leap marks the conclusion of the traditional cycle and delves into the factors that contribute to the political polarization of that time. Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey through the dynamics of Chinese society. This video ends here, but the Odyssey continues in our subsequent episodes. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time.